Hello, everyone. Boring movie guy, back once again. And today I want to talk about a Disney movie. And the movie is The Parent Trap, the 1961 version, not the one with Lindsay Lohan and Dennis Quaid. I'm talking about the 61 version, starring Haley Mills, the daughter of John Mills, the great actor. You got Maureen OHara in here. You have Brian Keith, right? That's why am I doing this? Yeah, Brian Keith. I sort of had a brain fire. I was sort of like mixing him up with like Keith David. I was like, no, it's Brian Keith. So yeah, okay. You also got Charlie Ruggles in there. I love Charlie Ruggles. He plays the grandfather. I love. He's one of my favorite supporting actors. He was in a lot of stuff like Ernest Lubitsch movies, and uh, of course one of my favorites, Bringing Up Baby. I love Charlie Ruggles. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is there another person here? No, I don't think so. I think those are the main ones. But yeah, of course, you know the story. You have a girl who goes to summer camp. While she's at summer camp, she runs into like her doppelganger there, and they fight, and then they have to go and they're punished, so they have to like sort of live in the same like what do you call it, the same barracks. They gotta live in the same house or whatever, and they come to find out that they're actually sisters, twin sisters. And the story goes is when they were little, their parents split up, and each one took one with them, and for some reason didn't bother to tell them that they had a twin sister. And what judge, what judge out there would not would make sure that the parents would like switch the kids, or I don't know. I'm confused. That's like the main plot hole in this movie. Like, what judge would split up twins, give one to each, and then not make sure that each parent like switched them around, or yeah, like it's the big plot hole in this film, but it's one of those ones that you can sort of overlook because the film is a lot of fun. So the girls come up with a plan while they're in summer camp to change places, so that one can be with their mother and the other can be with the father, and they can get their own time with each other's parents. And then they come to find out that their father is planning to get married, and they want to bring in the mom to try and get in the middle of it, which happens, but I don't want to spoil too much more. I'm sure a lot of people out there know what happens, if you haven't. Oh crap, I got a notification from eBay. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of people out there know the rest of this movie. I mean, it's from 1961. If you haven't seen it yet, where have you been? But yeah, this is one of those movies. I know it's not a masterpiece, but I tend to come back and watch this one constantly, man. I've probably seen this movie probably about 30 to 40 times in my life, because I have a blast when I watch this movie. I love Haley Mills in this. She's so good. And of course, before this, she did the movie Pollyanna. That sort of was her breakthrough role. I believe she got the Juvenile Award at the Oscars for that role. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was the last time they gave the Juvenile Award at the Oscars was Haley Mills, if I'm not mistaken. I wonder why they got rid of that award, because I feel like that they should have that award for kids that do a good performance, because I hate seeing like kids get like these Oscar nominations. I feel like, I don't know. It's nothing against kids, but sometimes I watch these kids that get Oscar nominated, and I'm just like, it was an okay performance. I wouldn't give them the Oscar nomination, but it was okay. So I wish they sort of would bring that back, but they're not going to. But yeah, of course, let's talk about the other people. We got Maureen OHara. I love Maureen OHara. I always felt she was a very underrated actress and still is very forgotten. You know, she had that amazing, amazing red hair that just, man, when Technicolor, came out, she she was like the perfect candidate for Technicolor. I think she was even called like something like the Queen of Technicolor just because, man, like she just glowed on screen when you just seen her. Like she was beautiful, beautiful woman, man. Irish. I love Irish women. Any Irish women out there interested? uh, Leave a comment down below. Just kidding. But yeah, I love Maureen OHara. So many great movies. Sadly, not to remember these days. I know toward the end of her life, she went to one of those TCM film festivals, and they wheeled her out, and you can tell that she wasn't in great shape. But when the crowd, got up, gave her a big round of applause, standing ovation, you can see that she was very touched, and that was such a emotional moment to watch. And then, of course, probably my favorite character, and probably I think is the funniest in the movie, is of course Brian Keith. And the weird thing is he wasn't a comedic actor at all. In fact, I think this might have been like one of his few comedies that he made in his career. And he is so damn funny in this. You sort of wonder why he didn't do more comedy, but I guess he just preferred, his westerns and dramatic roles. But he's hilarious in this movie. There's so many times I just bust out laughing at some of his like facial expressions or the way that he just would move in a scene and stuff like that. And yeah, just man, I would have loved to see him do more comedy work. But when you find out about his life, it's not a very happy one. I mean, I read that one of his kids died in childbirth or died when they were just a kid, and I also heard one took her life, and he wound up like a couple like weeks later taking his own life. I think he had like cancer and emphysema and stuff like that. But yeah, not a very happy life there for him. And yeah, just like I said, this movie is just one of those ones I can watch over and over again. Fuck, I'm thinking about even watching it tonight when I'm done doing this, because I just have so much fun watching this. It's such a great movie. And I guess we can talk about director David Swift. He had a sort of interesting career. He started off at Disney. He was an animator. I believe he was involved in movies like, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Pinocchio, and Fantasia, early Disney movies. And he sort of just worked his way up to writer/director. He was, of course, responsible for Pollyanna, which was the Haley Mills film before this. I just mentioned Pollyanna, which is another great movie. And yeah, he also wrote and directed some Jack Lemmon movies. Under the Yum Yum Tree was one of them, and I think, what is it called? My Neighbor Sam or something. Good Neighbor Sam. And he directed the film version of How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. So the guy was multi-talented, animator, writer, director. It seemed like the guy could do anything. Yeah, so far there has not been a Blu-ray release of this movie, which is killing me because I would love to replace it. Because this thing is pretty big, you know. Look at how thick that thing is. Takes up quite a bit of room on the shelf. I want just a thin thing, a thin uh, Blu-ray to replace this. But what can you do, you know? I don't know if Disney sees this as a money maker. I wish they would, because I think the movie's great. But yeah, you got the two discs, and it does. This thing does have pretty good special features. Like, you know, there's like interview with the director and Haley Mills together, and they even do a commentary on here, and um, they even have a thing where David Swift talks about his early days of animating for Disney and stuff like that. And he's even with like another Disney animator talking about the early days of animating. And yeah, pick this up. You know, it's got great special features. I think I recently like seen this at Walmart, and here like back in the day, like I don't know if it went out of print for a bit or what, but I had to get this off eBay like a long time ago. And yeah, please Disney, can we get a Blu-ray release on this already? There was also some sequels to this movie. There was like a Parent Trap 2 and 3, and Haley Mills was in those two movies. You know, she played like, I think it's Susan out of these twins. I think she played the Susan character. She came back and played Susan. I don't know why they didn't have her play both Sharon and Susan, but I guess they probably explained in the movie. Uh, but yeah, I have not seen those sequels. If I see them pop up on a streaming service, or if they do plan on releasing this on Blu-ray and it comes in like a 3-movie bundle, I guess I'll have to watch those 2 movies. But for right now, don't have plans to watch those. They don't seem to appeal to me, but I'm willing to give them a chance. And it was a long time after they made those sequels. I mean, this was like 1961. I think the sequels were like in the mid to late 80s. So it's like 20 plus years later. And is there anything else I can talk about? I guess we can talk about the remake with with Lindsay Lohan, Dennis Quaid, and is it Miranda Richardson, who was married to Liam Neeson, and she sadly died in a ski accident. She she went off a cliff or something. Yikes. Ugh. Too bad. She was a beautiful woman. I mean, she was beautiful in The Parent Trap. Man. See, I feel bad for Liam Neeson out there and the family. My condolences. But yeah, I have so many problems with that sequel. There's so many just cringe moments, like that whole thing with like the one sister has like a handshake, a secret handshake with the butler, and there's like 2 times where they do it, and just like I don't get this. And then there's so many they're very similar, but I feel like the sequel, or not the sequel, but the remake just has too many just really big plot holes that sort of just drive me nuts. I guess the ending is probably the main thing that drives me nuts, because in this movie, yeah, okay, spoiler alert, the mom and the dad get back together and they get married again. But it makes sense because the mom has been living with her fucking parents since they both got divorced, and I can actually see the mom leaving her life in Boston to go live with him out in California. But in the remake, the mom is like a successful wedding designer. You know, she makes like, she makes like bridal dresses and stuff like that, and she's very, very successful, and she's got this big successful business out in the UK. And then Dennis Quaid has like a successful vineyard, and he's doing very well for himself. So at the end of the remake, the parents get married, and then they just show pictures of the wedding, and that's it. They don't explain, did the mom move to California? Did she move her bridal designing business to California with her? Did he move to the UK and give up his vineyard, which I highly doubt? And did she move to the California to give up her bridal dress business? I really don't think so. So to this day, I'm like, how did they work it out, man? How did they work it out? Was it just floating back and forth from England to California? Like, it drives me mad to this day, and it's one of those things that just, it's why I don't want to watch the remake, because I just see that ending and I'm like, tell me. I've been wondering since I've seen this. Does she move to California? Does he move to the UK? Do they give up their hopes and dreams to be with one another? Like, I'm still to this day just confused, man, about that. I know that's a very petty thing, and you're probably thinking, what a fucking idiot. It's just a movie, but I'm sorry, I can't help it. If there is a gaping plot hole like that, I'm gonna sit there and mull over it for the rest of my life. And sadly, that has been the case with that movie ever since I've seen it. And I was like a kid when I seen it, and I had the same questions when I was a kid. I was like, who moved where, and how did they work this marriage out? Because they're both successful at what they do. They're both doing what they love. I don't see either of them giving it up. And please, in the comments, people, give me your opinion on this. That ending to the remake, The Parent Trap, because to this day it just bugs the hell out of me. So many unanswered questions, and I just feel like it's just lazy storytelling to just end it that way with just flashing pictures of their wedding. It's like, can you please tell me, like, how did they make this marriage work? What's her name who wrote and directed the remake? I think is it Stephanie Myers? Yeah, I think it's her. If it's not, I'll put it up here. But yeah, Stephanie Myers. No, I think Stephanie Myers is she the one that wrote the Twilight books? It's Nancy Myers. It's a Myers. It's either Stephanie or Nancy. I think it's. Oh God. Okay, up here. If it's Nancy or Stephanie, I'm pretty sure it's Nancy now that I think about it. But yeah, please, if you watch this, tell me what happens at the end. Does he move to England? Does she move to California? I need to know this, how they work this out. Okay, I guess it's time for me to rate the movie. For this movie, I am going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Like I said, I can watch this movie over and over again and not get bored with it. It's so much fun. Is it a masterpiece? No. But it is very, very entertaining. And the rewatch value, at least for me, is very, very good. There are movies out there that are masterpieces that I could watch over and over again. And then there are movies that are just plain entertaining, but not masterpieces that I can watch over and over again. And this movie falls into that category. And Hayley Mills is terrific in here. And I didn't even mention that the double in this movie for Hayley Mills, she actually had to sign a contract saying that she was okay with not being credited in this movie because Walt Disney wanted people to think that Hayley Mills was actually playing both parts, even though she wasn't. Those back shots of the character or just fancy camera work. No, it was an extra. And yeah, she had to sign away her not being credited in this film. But I guess Walt Disney, to make up for it, gave her like this nice little Donald Duck statue, something that he gave away to like people that he worked with that he felt sort of went beyond the Call of Duty. So I guess in a way, that it was kind of worth it. I mean, if if Walt Disney gave me a Donald Duck statue, I know I treasure it and would never get rid of it or try and sell it.